For the past couple of days, I've been going back and forth on whether I should even do this video, but I eventually decided just to buckle down and do it, because I feel it's something that needs to be discussed and I think explained a little. Now this is just my opinion, so if you don't share it, I really don't mind, but I hope you still enjoy the video. A lot has happened since the ETG Discord server shut down. Cavalry has banned, removed and kicked a lot of players from their social media for being, I quote-unquote, negative. They even shut down their Instagram for a short while, and they even issued an apology of sorts. Now the apology is what I want to get into today. It has left people a bit split. On the one hand, some are very happy that they even apologized. However, most are not that happy with it. I'm not going to go through the entire apology. There's some key points to help people understand where some of the unhappiness is coming from and also where my own uncertainty with it is coming from. Once again, if you're happy with this apology, then by all means be happy. I'm just trying to give a different perspective. Let's get into it. Now at the start, they thank past and new moderators and ambassadors for all their hard work and dedication. And then they get to this particular paragraph. We let the moderators pull too much weight. We didn't put the effort into maintaining, listening to and supporting the Discord community. This led to an understandable frustration from the mods and ambies. For a long time they were left alone to handle the entire Discord community on their own, and this isn't right. For this we are truly sorry. Players volunteering and dedicating their free time as moderators and ambassadors should not be left to be responsible for the ETG's Discord server with as little support from the team as they've had in the past year. This part is truly wonderful and cathartic. They take full responsibility for how they treated these people. They further apologize for this entire situation, and that certainly helped to soothe the burn of what they did. But unfortunately, they do continue. Unfortunately, the growing frustration grew into a behavior that is unacceptable. It was brought to our attention that this frustration was leading up to some deciding to mobilize and go against the server community, with both within and outside of the ETG server. To be clear, this was apparently a strike that some of the moderators and ambassadors were joking about. It created needless animosity between the cavalry staff and the community. Being dissatisfied is not a reason to sabotage, and we had to act. Now this is the part where they lost a lot of people, because they are essentially pushing the repercussions and responsibility of their own actions onto the moderators and ambassadors. In short, they provoked people into a bad action and then pretended that ETG was not at fault, but they were at fault, because they clearly, by their own admission, understood that there was a problem. They had heard that because of all these year-long issues, the mods and ambassadors were planning on mobilizing. If ETG knew all of this, why, when these moderators and ambassadors contacted them, did not mobilize, did not attack but contacted them about the problem, why was their reaction to fire them? Remember, the moderators and ambassadors had done nothing at that point other than state a grievance, and for stating that grievance in the incorrect tone, they were fired for it. And also remember, long before this situation exploded, people were being fired for raising opinions, so they had indirectly put a clamp on people's head. They created an impossible work environment, and when their workers became upset, instead of talking to them, their reaction was to fire them because the workers were not stating the grievance in an acceptable tone. Essentially, they created a scenario in which the only reaction could be the moderators and ambassadors speaking up about their work environment. They were pushed to that point by the developers, and when they reacted accordingly, they were punished for it. To top it off, they were, according to ETG, being fired for a possibility of a situation, not something that they had actually done, not something that had actually happened. The moderators reached out to you, Equestrian, the game, before they did anything else, and your response was once again to fire them. And that is why the apology rings hollow, because they're not stating all the facts and still shoving the situation onto the ambassadors and moderators. We're not happy with it. Really, if they wanted to make a good apology, they should have been more like Celestia. One of the greatest fan-made animations I've seen comes from Warp Out, who worked with Ponyphonic to bring the brilliant animation to life, Lullaby for a Princess. It tells the story of Luna and Celestia from My Little Ponies. In short, Luna was the moon pony, Celestia the sun pony. They each had a responsibility. Luna raised and lowered the moon, Celestia the sun. Now the story goes that Celestia was arrogant and full of herself. She loved that she was beloved and she soaked it up. But she didn't realize that her taking the spotlight and getting all the attention was having an adverse effect on her sister. And I quote, "So great was her reign and so brilliant her glory that long was the shadow she cast, and fell dark upon the young sister she loved and grew only darker as days and nights passed." In her arrogance and vanity, she does not realize that she is hurting the people around her, in particular her sister, whom feels neglected and unappreciated because no one can seem to see that she also has value. It builds a frustration and bitterness towards the world and Celestia, her own sister. Now, the story continues that Celestia eventually realizes that her sister is unhappy, but she doesn't do anything about it because, and I quote, "But such is the way of the limelight, it sweetly takes hold of the mind of its host, and that foolish pony did nothing to stop the destruction of one who had needed her most." In this context, we can see that Luna is suffering, and despite knowing of her suffering, Celestia ignores it because in her arrogance and vanity, she does not want to help her sister, and the unhappiness and bitterness continues to grow. Finally, it breaks out into a fight. Luna refuses to lower the moon and almost destroys the kingdom. Celestia is left with no other option but to banish her sister to the moon. But now, listen to Celestia's lament very carefully. "Lule, moon princess, good night, sister mine. Rest now in moonlight's embrace. Bear up my lullaby, winds of the earth, through cloud, through sky, and through space. Carry the peace and the coolness of night, and carry my sorrow in kind. Luna, you're loved so much more than you know. May trouble be far from your mind. And forgive me for being so blind." She takes full responsibility for what happened because she understands that her own actions pushed her sister towards this point. So her sister Luna is technically free of blame, as is the moderators and ambassadors. And that is where ETG's apology falls flat. You do not understand Equestrian the game, that the moderators and ambassadors' unacceptable behavior was a direct result of your own vanity and arrogance. You instead pretend that you were the victim and that you didn't do anything wrong when you fired people who were not striking, who were not attacking you, but who had finally, after a long time of struggling, spoke up about frustrations.